Now, if there's one franchise that constantly is trying to figure out what it wants to be when it grows up, then it's Assassin's Creed. Since 2007, it's shape-shifted from stealth action to a pirate simulator to this open-world Norse mythology extravaganza, and with the recent release of Assassin's Creed Shadows, it's sort of gone back to basics, which is good for everyone. Ubisoft, though, from 2025 onwards, are planning to do something even more ambitious. With some recent leaks, it turns out that Assassin's Creed is going to be a platform, not just a game, but a platform. So what does this actually mean? Well, according to some leaks from Insider Gaming, the company is no longer satisfied with releasing one game every few years. This new model involves multiple games within a year, are unified by this Animus Hub's ecosystem. You think of it, it's sort of like Netflix, but of murder simulators, and every 6 or so months you'll get a new main title, a smaller experimental spin-off, or something multiplayer. Some of it will be RPG heavy, some will be stealth based, one will be co-op, one will probably have a battle pass, but we don't know yet. Do not hold me to that judgment. But you know you'll have to pay for a bunch of DLC. That's just how it's always been, and that's probably how it's going to continue with these Assassin's Creed titles. Ubisoft isn't just turning out content for years though, it's trying to fix a problem it created. Assassin's Creed has been stuck in this creative identity crisis for years. Valhalla bloated itself into a 80-hour Nordic fever dream, and Mirage did try to course correct that, only able to land somewhere between nostalgia bait and shallow throwback. There's a vocal split in the fan base. Some want the series to return to the stealth mechanics and actual assassinations, and others want the freedom and depth of this modern open world RPG. Ubisoft's solution, however, why not both? But instead, why not everything? Now, this video isn't just about what's coming next. It's given a rough roadmap to basically what's say about Ubisoft as a company, what it means for the future of the franchise, and whether this ambitious pivot will breathe new life into Assassin's Creed or just bury it under its own weight. Because when you try to please everyone, there's the risk you'll please no one. So as mentioned before, Assassin's Creed isn't getting just a new game, it's getting somewhat a new structure. For the first time in the franchise history, Ubisoft has publicly committed to a long-term, multi-pronged release strategy that essentially turns Assassin's Creed into a content pipeline. If that sounds soulless, well, this is just modern game publishing. Now, according to a detailed Insider Gaming report by Tom Henderson, who, by the way, nearly has a spotless track record when it comes to Ubisoft leaks, no clue where he gets them from. Someone in Ubisoft must be feeding him. Maybe it's Yves Guillemot by himself, the CEO. Imagine that would be hilarious. But I digress. Not all of these titles that were leaked will be massive AAA blockbusters though, like Valhalla or Shadows. Some will be smaller, focused, and experimental. Others will be multiplayer focused, while some will be narrative-driven, horror-adjacent spin-offs like Assassin's Creed Hexa. The goal though is to capture every type of player across every type of platform. In development right now, there are 6 titles. Assassin's Creed Hexa, which is a dark, possibly supernatural entry set during the Roman Empire. Codenamed Invictus, which is a multiplayer Assassin's Creed designed as a live service PvE experience. Codenamed Nebula, a mobile game with settings spanning India, the Aztec Empire, and the Mediterranean. Codenamed Raid, a 4-player PvE co-op title, which is likely free to play, and a Black Flag remake. Finally, we're getting Edward Kenway in modern tech with the ship and the Caribbean. I'm excited for that, not gonna lie. There is the big elephant in the room though, which is the Animus Hub. Now, we know since having it within Shadows, it's not just a launcher, but it's a narrative container. Every game from now on, you will plug into this broader meta story with connective tissue happening in the modern day throughout the Ubisoft Hub. Well, the Animus Hub. But the problem is, it's a bit shit. There's no really good modern day through line. There's no connection pretty much with the modern day and the historical settings, and it really does deserve its own video, so look out for that. And if we're being honest with ourselves, this kind of release cadence is very aggressive. It's like Activision in peak Call of Duty era aggressive. Ubisoft is banking on their global studios working in tight synchronization, each building separate titles that fit into this shared universe. It's very ambitious, but it's also risky, because the more plates you spin, the harder it is to keep them from crashing. This leaked roadmap is promising, but also a warning. Ubisoft is all in on Assassin's Creed. The question isn't whether they can deliver the content, it's whether they can deliver quality consistently. Now, going over the leaked titles, what's good about them and what are the concerns? Now, of course, we had Assassin's Creed Shadows released in 2024. Of course, it had the long requested setting, dual protagonists, which offered a varied gameplay, which you could do the RPG versus stealth divide with the 2 characters, Nawe and Yasuke. The cinematics are incredible. Luckily, I was able to have a sit down and sort of interview and discussion with one of the lead cinematic directors of Assassin's Creed Shadows, where we got to see behind the scenes and a look at how they're formed and created. They're amazing amazing, and it really is something to be proud about. However, there's the oversaturation of both protagonists being playable, and the pacing has suffered very similar to how it did in Syndicate, and it's still an RPG. With the stealth mechanics returning, some players have been a bit disappointed that you still have to do that Odyssey Valhalla style loot grind. I personally didn't have a problem with trying to grind and get levels to actually take on the higher leveled enemies. It's quite easy, and something that I'm proud to say I'm good to see in Assassin's Creed Shadows. Then we have Assassin's Creed Heck 2026 apparently, with the setting being Central Europe during the Holy Roman Empire's witch trials. Now the good is that it's a bold tonal shift. It embraces horror and psychological tension, something Assassin's Creed has never really truly done. Potentially a linear and narrative driven story, breaking away from bloated open world formulas, and it could deepen the lore, witches, paranoia, and persecution tie naturally into the Templar ideology, as well as using these pieces of Eden actually causes paranoia. Concerns though, it might be a bit too far from the franchise's identity, as it could sacrifice AC mechanics like parkour or social stealth, and it could alienate longtime fans. There's also this unknown gameplay direction. Will there be combat? Would it be magic? Would it be stealth? Obviously it's unclear now because we haven't heard anything about the game, but it also could flop commercially. Niche horror Assassin's Creed might not appeal to a wide base unless it's marketed well. Then you have codename Invictus, which apparently is coming in 2026 as well, which is a PvE multiplayer, possibly co-op missions with persistent progression. It's the return of Assassin's Creed multiplayer. You know, it's been long requested by fans of the Brotherhood, Revelations, AC4 and Unity era. By the way, if you want to do a PvP Assassin's Creed title multiplayer game, get Black Flag. The multiplayer is still active and it's still fun to play. Apparently it's being built by former For Honor and Rainbow Six devs, which bodes well for the structure and the mechanics, and the co-op stealth could be fantastic if executed cleanly. It had it in AC Unity, it was fun, but there was a lot of glitches, a lot of lagging, and sometimes you just wouldn't be able to complete a mission because someone would lag out the game. Bad part is there are some live service red flags. We don't know if it'll have a battle pass, seasonal content, or FOMO loops. Again, the multiplayer has always been niche in AC, and it could cannibalize single player focus. If Ubisoft focuses too heavy on monetization of this multiplayer game, it could alienate some players from the future titles. Then you have Assassin's Creed Jade, which we got to play a little bit of during this beta a few years ago, but it seems to be that Ubisoft have pushed this down or cancelled it entirely. It was supposed to release in 2023, but we haven't heard anything about it, so I can't really judge. That's that game. And then we have the long-awaited Assassin's Creed Black Flag remake. It's going to be amazing. Edward Kenway is still one of the franchise's best protagonists. There is the opportunity to modernize the ship mechanics, the combat, the exploration, and it could bridge the old versus new AC design philosophies. However, as we saw from the Ezio trilogy, the remake of that, or remaster, remakes are hard to get right, and if Ubisoft tinkers a bit too much with it, the tone of the pacing, it could really backfire. If they also add certain RPG systems, it could ruin its focused design. And fans, do we want a remake yet? Yeah, absolutely we do. People want Black Flag remake. They also want the first Assassin's Creed game remade. Can we have that, please, Ubisoft? Please? Thank you. And there are also a couple titles that are in early development, but they fall into distinct categories. You have Nebula, which is said to feature multiple locations such as India, the Aztec Empire, the Mediterranean. Then you have Raid, which might be the 4-player PvE, very similar to what we had in Assassin's Creed Unity. And then we have Echoes, which reportedly explores the cloud-native tech, potentially redefining scalability and visuals. All sounds great, but all seems a bit too much for Assassin's Creed and the developers to take on. Yes, I know there's multiple studios, but I just worry about their health, and we don't want them to be in a huge crunch. That's not good for anybody. Now, one of the biggest problems Assassin's Creed has faced for over a decade is its most defining feature. It really doesn't know what it is anymore. You could ask 10 players what Assassin's Creed should be, and you'll get 10 different answers. For some, it's Ezio climbing towers in Renaissance Italy. For others, it's Bayek exploring pyramids or Eivor leading Viking raids. Some fans might miss the tight stealth mechanics and social blending for the early games. Others prefer the grand RPG sprawl of Origins and Odyssey. The series has really tried to be a stealth game, a history simulator, and a loot-driven RPG, and now possibly a live service universe. This shape-shifting identity isn't just confusing, it's fracturing. Each new title seems to react to the one before it. Valhalla pushed the RPG mechanic so far that Mirage had to dial everything back. Mirage in turn was so stripped down that some players found it shallow and undeveloped. And then with Shadows, you had the best of both worlds worlds, yet the world still felt sort of empty, and to me, the world was a little bit too large. That's why this leaked roadmap, despite sounding exciting, is also pretty terrifying. If you read between the lines, what Ubisoft is proposing isn't a cohesive vision for Assassin's Creed, it's a collection of visions loosely tied together by branding and the Animus hub. There's no longer this single direction for the series, instead it's a buffet. You want stealth? Play Mirage with a hint of Shadows. You want RPG depth? Play a bit of Shadows, but also go back and play Valhalla Odyssey. You want horror? Wait for Hexa. And you want to play with friends? Try Invictus. The issue is that Assassin's Creed used to have this core identity, and it wasn't just the hood and the hidden blade. It was about navigating morally grey conflicts from the shadows, assassinating targets with precision, and using real historical settings as backdrops for philosophical struggle. Those ideas still exist, but now they're diluted, blurred by naval combat, gods and monsters, leveling systems, and now possibly even monetization layers like season passes and cosmetics with the future multiplayer title. So while this new roadmap may offer variety, it risks becoming directionless. It treats Assassin's Creed less like a story and more like an IP container, and when a franchise becomes a container, it often stops being about something and starts being about everything, which unironically can make it feel like nothing. So after all the announcements, leaks, marketing buzz, we're left with one question. Is this really the rebirth of Assassin's Creed, or the beginning of its collapse under its own ambition? On one hand, there's genuine cause for optimism that Ubisoft is finally acknowledging that Assassin's Creed doesn't have to be a one-size-fits-all product. By spreading the franchise across different gameplay types and tones, stealth, RPG, horror, and multiplayer, it's creating a room for both creative freedom and player choice. That's a good thing. For too long, the franchise tried to force every game into a single mold. Now, Mirage can exist alongside Shadows, and both can serve totally different types of players without one undermining the other. There's also a clear effort to tell tighter, more distinct stories. Hexa sounds like it's going to be a genuine departure, a narrative-focused, unsettling thriller rather than another epic loot grinder. Projects like the Black Flag remake and Invictus multiplayer suggest Ubisoft is trying to preserve legacy content and reintroduce innovation. For a franchise that's often been accused of playing it safe, this leaked roadmap ironically is its riskiest move in years. But on the other hand, we've seen this playbook before. Ubisoft is no stranger to buzzwords. Every generation it promises reinvention, and while the results are sometimes great, they're just as often compromised by corporate mandates, live service trends, or creative bloat. For every Origins, there's a Unity, and for every Ezio trilogy, there's a forgotten mobile spin-off lost to time. The Animus Hub might be a neat idea, but it raises a lot of red flags. Is it a tool for immersive storytelling, or just a storefront for cross-selling DLC and extra weapons and, I don't know, a fiery line to ride? When you hear connected platform, it's not hard to imagine monetization hooks, battle passes, and daily login bonuses creeping into what used to be self-contained, narrative-driven adventures. The reality is Assassin's Creed now stands at a crossroad. It can evolve into something diverse, ambitious, and exciting, an anthology of historical experiences with real artistic merit, or it can become a content machine where quantity outweighs quality and identity takes a backseat to shareholder expectations. Ubisoft has the tech, it has the talent, and it definitely has the fan base. But if this leaked roadmap is going to succeed, it needs more than game. It needs vision, and it needs restraint. And most of all, it needs to remember that the best Assassin's Creed games weren't great because they were big, they were great because they meant something. Now in the comment section down below, I want you to let me know what you think about this leaked roadmap. Are you excited for Hexa? Are you excited for the other titles? And how do you really think Ubisoft can pull this off? But more importantly, what do you want from Assassin's Creed, and what do you want from Ubisoft as a whole? Let me know in the comment section down below. Like the video if you have enjoyed, and make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest Assassin's Creed information, but also join in with the conversation. I hope you all have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next video.